All right, welcome to the Atlanta Landlord Luncheon. I am Matt Martin, and I'm joined here with. Do you want to talk to the microphone? Introduce yourself.
Oh yeah, I'm Chris Fulton, owner and president of PMI Georgia.
And I'm AJ Muldowney, executive property or portfolio manager and BDM.
And we work here at PMI Georgia. We manage over 450 properties throughout Metro Atlanta and Middle Georgia. Chip, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hey, Chip Cagle. I'm with Longhorn Investments. We're a hard money lender out of Dallas, Texas, but I'm in Atlanta to help you with your Georgia needs. So not just Atlanta, but Savannah, Macon, Columbus, and Athens, and up in the northwest area around Chattanooga. But I'd love to talk to you about what our loans are. So you can give me a call at 404-216-5599. If you're looking for a fix and flip loan, we've got a really good one. And that is we do 100% of your purchase and rehab, as long as that's less than 70% of the appraised ARV. We can even go up to 75% if you're thinking about keeping it as a rental property. We got some specials going on that I can talk to you about. So give me a call at that number, 404-216-5599. And we have new construction loans. And just a few months ago, we added DSCR loans. So if you do decide to keep it as a rental, we can convert you over to that once you're finished with your renovations. Thanks.
And AJ, do you want to give a little plug for what we do here at PMI and how they can reach out to us?
Yes. So PMI Georgia.
Hold it up to you.
PMI Georgia is a full service property management company located in Tyrone, Georgia. As Matt said, we cover a 50-mile radius around the Atlanta perimeter and also handle business down in the Macon, Warner Robins market as well. To get in contact with us, you can simply reach us at our office at 678-782-1004, and me or Matt would be happy to talk to you about your investment needs and how to help you grow your portfolio and maximize it to its full potential.
That's right. And you can also check us out on our website, pmigeorgia.com. You can fill out the form for a free rental analysis. We'd love to review a property with you and see how we might be able to help you, whether you're thinking about renting or selling or taking on professional management to make sure your investments are performing. So this is our special Thanksgiving edition of the Atlanta Landlord Luncheon. And today's all about turkey talk. So we know the holidays are headed up, approaching again. And we wanted to take some time to talk about the current market in Atlanta, and I got some fun segments for us to discuss. So just wanted to start off. And Chip, you can feel free to chime in on this one. I think it's very easy for us to focus on the negatives. It's been a challenging year in the economy. Investors and landlords have certainly been squeezed, over the past couple years when it comes to cost of insurance, property taxes, cost of repairs, things like that. But I think Thanksgiving is a great time for us to reflect at the end of the year and think through the things that we're grateful for. And so I'd love to, just ask you guys, what are some things that flippers and landlords should be thankful for this year? Any, positive things, silver linings?
Well, Chip, I'm going to let you lead off with that flipper segment, and then I'll give you some of my feedback as well.
Okay. So on the flip side, my number of loans have been down, but we are still doing quite a few loans. And as a company, we're doing well. We do have those specials I was talking about going on where you can choose either a lower interest rate or lower points. And so that's what I was saying earlier. You can give me a call on, and we're just trying to, here's one special that you might be interested in. Normally we have a customer loyalty program. And when somebody gets into that, that's after they've done 3 loans with us, then we'll give them a lower interest rate by 2% and a lower points by 1 point. So, that's a big deal. But right now, if you have 3 with any lender, 3 in the last 2 years with any lender, then we can put you straight into that customer loyalty program. So that's something to be thankful for right there. You can get that. And those, when I'm saying you can get the lower points and lower interest, that's for the rest of the time you're trying to borrow with us, not just right now. You would get, if once you qualify, you would be in the loyalty program as long as you're in good standing with us.
All right.
Well, I'll tell you some of the things I see on the flipping side right now, that there are a lot of properties out there approaching very long days on market. 90 plus days are the properties that you should be targeting. And if you're going to be a flipper, you need to also know what you're buying into. You know, you need to measure the numbers more than ever, because the cost of renovations are high. So what I've seen over the last year is a lot of flippers getting into properties and getting into a buy and hold scenario versus a sell. So there's a couple things going into these. You need to make sure that you have enough margins so that you can bring value to the market. You also need to be buying in markets where that average household income lines up with the end result that you're trying to mortgage out to the end buyer, the retail buyer, or you will find yourself in trouble. So there's a lot more research. So you really have to target the markets that you're buying in. And there's a lot of, with all these days on market, there's a lot of frustration out there. So be the solution to the seller. And that gives you opportunity to buy those homes at even a deeper discount, you know, but running your numbers in advance, making sure that the end buyers are there, you know, because if you look deeply into a market, you can see the average days on markets for homes that are priced right to sell. You know, you just like, there's these lingering houses. Generally, if they're lingering, there's reasons why they're lingering. They're too high, or they need work. So just run all your numbers, and also run the numbers and think about this. You may be wanting to fix and flip, but it may turn into a great buy and hold scenario. And in the long run, these homes are going to go up in value.
That's right.
So, right now I'm actually starting to lean into some of the properties that are available. And I think it's going to be a good year to buy and hold. It may even be a good year in some cases to flip, because but you have to make the adjustments for the higher renovation cost, the higher mechanical costs. I mean, hot water heaters, HVA units, even roofs. We've seen some dramatic increases, up to 30-35% of over last year's pricing.
Yeah.
And in some cases even more than that. So, you know, we just have to remember, cost of goods and services are up. So you just need to run the numbers. And whenever you're running those numbers, you should be placing that property on the market at a target where you can get it sold for 30 days. And if you can't do that, if you can't be realistic with that, then you're in a losing game.
Right.
But I think some really relief to the flippers is going to be the fact that we're looking at next year rolling into some better interest rates, which will open up a lot of the markets. But stay out of the markets that are primary. If you're flipping, stay out of the markets where they're primarily rental homes. Look for the strong homes in strong markets where people are actually buying homes. That's where the opportunity is.
Yeah.
Owner-occupied neighborhoods.
Yeah. But as a silver lining, Chip mentioned this, there's a lot more loan products available for flippers who are wanting to transition to a buy and hold with those DCSR loans. And you hadn't seen too many of those prior years, but this year it seems like there's a lot more opportunity. AJ, you got some gratitudes over there for us?
Yeah, I would just say one of the things to be grateful for as a landlord right now is the fact that we have a lot of opportunity out in the space right now. We just have to get our heads out of the weeds. And when I'm saying the weeds, we need to look for opportunity. I feel like we went through a year, maybe a year and a half now, where it's been really hard for us to find opportunity, and that's discouraged a lot of us. I think that we need to remind ourselves that, hey, the best time to buy was when, guys. yesterday,
Right.
yesterday usually, right? So that we can gain appreciation in the future. And I think we need to keep that mindset and be identifying markets where the trend is changing and it's going from a seller's to a buyer's market. And we are seeing that. So I think we should be grateful that that's ahead. And there's always, I mean, you see what business we're in. We believe that real estate makes the most millionaires. And that's why we're here. So I definitely grateful that we have opportunity in the horizon.
Right. And, you know, another silver lining for investors, I think, you know, we've been so used to hot markets where property values are climbing and rents are climbing. And a lot of investors are looking at maybe rents decreasing and feeling like they're losing money. But we were at a really interesting conference last week. You know, if you look at home prices in the price of gold, you know, in comparison to the amount of gold ounces it takes to purchase a home, this is the best value we've had in a generation. And so, you know, if you were holding that same amount of money in cash versus in real estate, you would have lost a lot more buying potential if you were holding it in cash. But rental properties are an incredible store of value. So, you know, just like gold's been on a tear, you know, real estate has been holding value and purchasing power for you as you're trying to preserve your wealth and grow it. So there's definitely some silver linings there.
Yeah, sometimes people just they lose their perspective on how well real estate is a hedge against inflation, like
Yes.
gold is.
Yes.
But the difference between gold and real estate is gold is it's speculative, but it doesn't earn income.
Right.
Real estate it's the ideal investment. You got income, depreciation, equity, appreciation, and leverage. And you throw all those factors in together, you have a property that you will have build incredible wealth over time. So when I'm talking about in today's market, we're in a buyer's market, and this is where you want to be, because as soon as we get into a seller's market, real estate values generally are on the uprise. So when we're in this buyer market, it's creating so much opportunity out there for you to buy properties. It's easy. I remember when we were in sellers markets, oftentimes I have a hard time getting properties under contract because there's so much competition.
Mm-hmm.
So just make sure that you pick them right and run your numbers, and so it really is a good time to buy.
So the question that we need to be, or the phrase we need to be using, and the question we need to be asking is not, hey, is it worth my dollar? Is it worth its weight in gold? All right, guys?
That's right. Yeah, I think, you know, gold doesn't pay rent. There aren't any tax write-offs for owning gold. I don't know very many people willing to loan you money to buy gold, and then you can write off, you know, the interest that you're paying on that. So there's a lot of advantages to owning rental properties over gold. So, all right, moving along. Thanksgiving is also a time for fattening our bellies with family, with friends. What are some of your favorite side dishes, desserts, entrees at Thanksgiving? What do you look forward to every year? Chip, I'll let you lead off on this one.
Hey, all right. Well, of course, turkey. You got to have turkey, right? I especially like to either smoke a turkey or fry a turkey. Those are really good.
Ooh, nice. Yeah.
As far as desserts go, my favorite's always been pumpkin pie. The way my mom used to make it was the best. I haven't been able to duplicate that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing like mama's recipes. That's right. Well, how about you guys?
I would say more of a ham over turkey guy, which is weird. Yeah. I'm actually a turkey baby. I was born on Thanksgiving in 1992, but this I'm more of a ham guy as far as the entree. As far as sides, my favorite would have to be, instead of green bean casserole, asparagus casserole. So you just substitute the green beans with asparagus. Everything else is the same. Definitely try it out. Be a new side for the year if your family or friends that you gather with don't already do that. And as far as a dessert, we're a big pie family. Pumpkin pie is always on the table. I am more of a apple pie kind of guy, and that is what we always make sure that there's an apple pie. It kind of turns into birthday cake / Thanksgiving dessert for everybody, but I get the majority share.
Well, I'm going to have to say that when it comes to the mainstay, I am a turkey guy without a doubt. And I love putting fresh cranberry sauce all over my turkey, and that will suffice me. But as far as sides go, I'm the old, to go with that turkey with the cranberry sauce on top of it, I am a potato and gravies guy, mashed potato and gravies.
Okay.
And I could live without the rest of the stuff. I could just have a whole plate full of that. You know, I'm not much of a dessert guy because I overdo it with the turkey and cranberry. But if it comes to desserts, I'm more of a blueberry pie kind of guy. I just love blueberries. I can eat fresh blueberries by the crate.
Yeah.
so I'm but yeah, I'm looking forward to the overindulgence in football games.
Yes,
That's what I and food and too much football. So go Dogs.
That's right. Yeah.
We have an Alabama fan sitting next to me here, and he's probably crying a little bit
That's
today.
right. That's right.
He's a little hurt from the weekend. So, and by the way, he is a newlywed too. So he's a little, maybe he's hurt from that. A little tired. So.
Yeah, I gotta say, I do love all the food at Thanksgiving. Definitely love turkey stuffing, cranberry sauce. I also love the weird traditional dishes that, like the older relatives make, congealed salad. You know what I'm talking about? It's like Jello and mayonnaise, and it's green. It's got some nuts and pineapples in it. Yeah, just all sorts of interesting treats that you only get one time a year.
One thing that I've found, the people that bring those dishes at Thanksgiving, usually their Christmas gifts are about the same as their dishes. They bring
Is that right? Yeah. They might, absolutely. Okay, well, I thought this was an interesting topic. The story we always tell about the first Thanksgiving, it's the pilgrims surviving in a new world, and it's kind of a famine year, and the Indians come in and they trade with them, and there's kind of a feast that, it's this idea of partnership and trading. And even though this has been maybe a lean year for a lot of investors, I think it's interesting to think about, who are the unlikely allies that landlords, flippers might need to lean on this year as they're, trying to hit their goals and be successful in this market ahead.
I would say the problem I would say I see out there more often than not is not being realistic with the marketplace. When you're looking at rent evaluations, you have to be true to the market, and not making adjustments quick enough to get the properties rented. Also, you're not true to yourself when you don't realize what your competition is, and when you're doing that rehab or you're doing that make ready on properties, whether you're flipping and you're doing the rehab or you're doing that make ready, you think your property's, my property's the best property out there because it's my property. Mm-hmm. No, you need to really look at your competition and have your property have really good curb appeal and price it right, either on the sales market, on the rental market, because that's what you need to make that statement when you put it up for sale or for rent, that I want to get this place rented, and bite that bullet, because there's nothing worse than doing a loss revenue calculation for a client saying, if we'd have priced this $100 less, or $10,000 less, or $20,000 less, or $200 less on the rental side or the sell side, you would have gotten this thing rented in your first 30 days. And that's as an associate broker and also as an agent, that's what I try to impress upon our customers and clients. And then there's other agents out there that I think sometimes they're just living in the past. They're living in the last 6 months or last year's pricing range, and they tell clients, oh, you can put it up for this much.
Or they're afraid to hurt their feelings.
And afraid to hurt their feelings.
Yeah,
Well, I
tell
think,
them the truth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I see. Or they overpromise and underdeliver because they want the client's business. Because we've had that happen to us a couple times this year where we priced the property out and somebody else listed it for much more. And then as the days on market lingered, they were making price reductions and actually went to the point that we were at to finally get things sold or rented. So be leery of I guess over expectations or of your property. Listen to the information and data that you got, and please get a second opinion. But get a second opinion that's valued on that they're actually providing data and weighing the market for you.
Right.
Because not acting fast enough, things are a lot of clients are lingering out there. So
listen to property managers who are trying to tell you the truth, the hard truth. AJ?
Without a doubt. That's what I would go into from that, is saying I wouldn't say we're an unlikely ally to real estate investors. Property managers, especially PMI Georgia, should be seen as your number one ally always, because that's what we're going to provide. We're going to provide you just clear, true data on what the market's doing, how it's performing, what your competition is, and give you our honest opinion on how we best think to maximize your asset. Of course, we want to get the most rent that we can for you. Of course, we want to make sure that your property is performing at its highest ability. However, that doesn't always mean being the most expensive rental property in that neighborhood. That doesn't necessarily maximize your profitability on your property. And with Chris, myself, Matt, we have the expertise to guide you guys and show you how to really maximize your portfolio and provide you the data to show you how we're going to make that happen. As far as other allies that I would definitely consider, we were talking about the cost of repairs and remodeling going up. I would say here in the last 3 weeks to a month, we have had vendors beating down our door to get in. And this kind of says a little bit to us that they're hungry for work. They're looking for some jobs and opportunities. We are seeing new builds slow down in a lot of markets, and there's a lot of vendors that are going to be coming out that were strictly working with those new builds, and we're being kept so busy by that they're looking for some opportunity. So I do think that we will see some good competition as far as it's going for bids on rehabs. However, there are some things that we won't have control over right now, such as the cost of goods, as far as material costs, things of that nature. We will see that start to go down as well, I believe. But right now, I do think that we will see a drop in the cost of labor coming from our partners in that regard.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I know I mentioned this earlier. There's a lot more loan products out there for investors. So certainly good to reach out to Chip and trust your lender out there for advice.
Right. Hey, Matt, when I saw your question here about feast or famine and allies, what popped into my head as far as on the fix and flip side is wholesalers. Wholesalers can definitely be allies, but they can also sometimes be taking advantage of you too. So you got to be really careful. Sometimes they're wanting a little too much, taking too much of the profit away from you, and with not the risk that you're going to have as a flipper. The other thing is be careful about their numbers. Be careful about the what they say the rehab budget needs to be. They're going to lowball that probably. And on the estimated ARV side, they're going to have that higher than it probably should be. Right. So be careful out there. Some of them are trying to take advantage of you. Others are your allies, and they're finding properties for you that are good deals.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen that a lot when customers call us. I mean, they will call us, and hopefully we can convert them into clients. But they're looking at a property, and I give them realistic expectations and about the after repair value, because that seems to be a key that the flippers and the wholesalers work off of all the time. And it's like, being in the business for all these years, like we're getting close to 25 years being in the business. I flip houses myself, and I'm actually kind of looking at one in the market, in one of our marketplaces right now for myself. So it's like getting that value, getting that second or third opinion. You can't, if somebody's quick, I'm quick with the numbers. I can look at things and come up with the numbers fairly quick, because I've done it so much. But getting one or two different opinions, you can't go off of somebody who's motivated to sell you the property for a profit. To realistically look at those numbers, you need to have somebody that can throw those numbers together and in a timely fashion. I'm going to tell you, it's always been true. You look at 10 properties and you'd be lucky to buy one,
right?
Or you look at 10 properties, you're lucky to make an offer on one, and then maybe one out of every 10 offers you may get accepted,
right?
But in this market, you can look at one property and you can get it under contract, because it's been that slow. So it is, this is a buyer's market. There's a lot of great opportunity out there. So look at those lingering properties, and there's probably an opportunity there for you. But know your numbers. Know your numbers, and if you don't have the ability to run those numbers yourself, we would be happy to help you with that. We really would.
Right. So. The silver lining in this economy, there are deals coming back. There are a lot of sellers who need to sell, have to sell. It's just a matter of whether they have, enough equity to be able to sell right now. But certainly, 2020 to 2022, you didn't have to be that smart to make money as a flipper. It was, if you bought, the property was going up in value. But right now, there's not a lot of room or margin for error. So you need to lean on your allies, trust people like Chip, because they'll run through the numbers with you. Certainly.
Yeah. And I think that, there's just an inventory problem on both sides. But once these interest rates go down, and we're looking for a stronger job market, things are going to, they could heat up pretty quick next year, and that's what we're all looking forward to. Right. So I can't say this is enough. We are in a buyer's market, so you should be looking. If you're looking at bringing on some assets, this is a good time. Right. Even if you buy it now at a higher interest rate, hopefully we're looking at the market turning down, and you will be able to refinance and capture some more cash flow out of that. But stay true to your numbers and look for those cash flow opportunities right now, because cash flow is king, but that appreciation is where you build the wealth over time. You want to get a good property management company. I've had so many properties that we've got under management where, we had you have tenants that are moving out. When we were just discussing that this morning about one of our clients, the tenant had been in there for 10 years. And I'm like, that is a great scenario to live in. Yeah. Long-term tenants. I had some tenants that moved out on me this year, and they had lived with me for 18 years. Wow. And could you imagine when you're financing a property, how that helps you over the long term? Right. You're cash flowing more and more every year off your rents, because when you buy a property, you generally start off low and you build that cash flow over the years. But then you also got to look at that equity curve, because when you first buy a property, very little of that payment goes to principal. But when that curve really shifts after 10 years, and more of that that payment that you're mortgaging that property out goes toward equity, and equity build is much greater in the long run than cash flow.
Right.
I mean, that's where you create your wealth, is on that equity build.
Mhm.
So that it's just a wonderful thing. Leverage, equity build, time, get good, reliable tenants in. And that's the key to success also, is screening those tenants well.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the cost of turn will eat you alive in this business. And I hate to see that. So we take our screening very seriously here at PMI Georgia. And so we really do screen well.
And just to add on to that, we run KPIs every week. Our average tenant stay at PMI Georgia is 3.5 years, and we are very proud of that. Because again, like Chris said, it goes to the tenant screening, the process, how we manage those tenants. That is, and again, that's all a push to maximize your portfolio, your property, and generate the most cash flow and the best outcome for you.
That's right. All right, well, let's move on to our next segment. What is cooking in Atlanta, hot or not? So I'd love to hear your current take on the for sale market, the rental market, if there's certain areas of Atlanta that are hot or that you would avoid. And then, any emerging trends or trends to avoid.
I'll touch on that rental market right now. Right now, we are seeing a lot of inventory, especially in the Douglas County. I would say as well.
Dallas, Lawrenceville, McDonough.
The hedge funds they just came in and acquired so many thousands of properties in these markets, and so the market's saturated with rental properties, which is not necessarily a bad thing as long as your property is in the best condition, best price when you put it out there.
And I think that just kind of goes back to what we were talking about the last segment, about just making sure you're running your numbers. You're looking at the market. You're looking at that active competition. You're reaching out to PMI Georgia to learn how to really value how to set the rental price for your property, and drive good qualified tenants to the door, and get the property off the market quick. Of course, again, it's not just get that property off the market quick, right? With a lot of inventory, doesn't mean we don't see a lot of applications. You still have to be really good in that leasing process, making sure you're watching out for fraud, checking on debt to income. Can they afford the property? Again, right now, what we see a lot of is at this time of the year is a lot of move-in specials going on. Something to keep in mind on what you're seeing inside your market. Are others doing move-in specials? Should you consider doing a move-in special? Again, if you have questions about that, give us a call here at PMI Georgia. We'd love to do an evaluation for you and talk to you about how to best position your property in today's market.
Just don't do a move-in special on your security deposit.
Yeah, no move-in special.
I've seen that from some rookie investors. One trend, I think it's interesting to pay attention. So these areas where we have a lot of inventory are also some of the fastest growing areas of Metro Atlanta. They've had a ton of new construction, which has drawn in investors, but also just, people that they bought in 2022, 2023. They got a nice new home, but they got relocated for work and they're having trouble selling it. So they're putting it on to rent. That's why there's so much kind of inventory in these areas. But also because of that, these are new construction, nicest condition possible rental properties. And traditionally, 3-2 ranches that were built in the 60s and 70s had always been really steady performers for investors. But now I'm talking to a lot of those investors. The kitchen hasn't been updated in 20 years. The style of it hasn't been updated in 30 years. And they can't figure out why they can't get their property rented. And it's really important to pay attention to the condition, the standard now for rental properties has really gone to new construction or like new. And so it's important for investors to pay attention to, that old rundown property that you're thinking about acquiring. You're going to have to put a lot into it to bring it up to the point where you can get the highest rent. or just be okay with getting, low to mid market rent and, having it be a steady performer that way. But don't expect to buy an old rundown property and to get top dollar in the rental market today, I'd say.
Yeah, I mean, that goes back to know the market, because, we're evaluating market every week. We come in and we make recommendations to our owners every week. We do an advertising and our vacant property review. And so I would say the best thing to do, because we do this every week, is to come in there and look at what's rented in the past week or the past 30 days, and compare that to your property and see what's the difference is.
Right.
There's some things that you can overcome, like, you may need to clean the carpet, replace the carpet, upgrade the kitchen, or you may not. If you're not going to make those condition upgrades or needs, then there's only one place for you to go. Because if the marketing is covered, in which we rent properties in a week.
Yep.
We just had a couple of properties that came up and they were rented in a week. There's a lot of competitions out there. And you know why it got rented in a week? Because we evaluated. We said, this is where we need to be. Let's put it out there, and we got it rented in a week. So it's like when these three things line up, price, condition, and advertising, you'll rent a property in less than 30 days. And so if you're not going to make those adjustments on conditions, some conditions you can't even fix.
Right.
Like we have feedback, well, the master bedroom's too small, or the kitchen's too small,
right,
or I don't like, it looks tired, things like that. Some of those times you can't overcome those objections. So there's only one place for you to go if the other two things are lining up.
Right.
The marketing and advertising. And the conditions are off. You got to adjust the rent.
Right.
Got to get those three things to align.
Chip.
Okay.
Sorry, Chip. How about you? What's hot? What's not for flipping around Atlanta?
Well, what I was going to say is one of the reasons why we do an appraisal. Some people always ask, why do you have to have an appraisal? Well, here's the reason. They're going to be able to tell us what's a hot market and what's not a hot market, because they're able to look at what the sales were in that area. Have they increased or decreased? And so a hot area would be where they're increasing. A down area would be where they're decreasing. I had an appraiser take a look at a property that my potential borrower had gotten an appraisal in July. And he wanted to know whether or not it had gone up or down. And so she researched the market for me and found out that area has gone down in value. So his appraised number that he got in July was going to be significantly lower now. So that's how we can keep up with what's hot and what's not, is we get the appraisal and we make sure we're lending based on that.
Right. Absolutely. All right. Well, you got one more, AJ?
No, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, moving ahead. So winter is here. We already had our first cold snap of the year in November. As you are thinking about vacant properties and tenanted properties, what are some winter preventative maintenance tips that property owners should be paying attention to or thinking about this time around?
Well, definitely, as the colors are changing on all the trees outside, we definitely want you guys to be aware that your property is probably going to need a gutter clean coming up if you're surrounded by a lot of trees. I think sometimes we forget how important a gutter system is to our property and what it's helping prevent damage-wise, and what damage can occur if we're not properly maintaining our gutters. So definitely make sure once all the foliage is dropped, or if it's already packed and all the leaves aren't down, you might want to go ahead and get those gutters clean.
Sometimes blowing off your whole roof with all the pine needles and leaves coming down. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, that's sitting on your roof tiles can definitely lead to soft spots, deterioration, and kill the life of the roof if it's just sitting there planted. With the gutters being full, that's a lot of times where you'll start seeing water damage happening on ceilings, water damage impeding into attic spaces. You'll notice that sometimes the gutters will have so much weight they'll actually detach from the house. And these are going to be way more expensive fixes than just going up and cleaning the gutters, right?
Right.
So I definitely recommend clean those gutters, blow off the roof. Another thing that we, especially with the freeze, hose bibs. If you have a home tenanted or untenanted, knowing that you have hose bib covers on your outside water spigots during the cold can do a ton to stop that pipe from busting, right? That's not a fun pipe to have to deal with. Another thing is also making sure that you and or your tenants are aware of where the shutoff valves are to those spigots, right? Tag them so that they know that they're aware, reach out, make sure that they know how to shut those off. I definitely, we tag all of our shutoffs from the mains to the spigots, and we let our tenants know where they're at. And big yellow tags, hard to miss. But if a water event does occur due to freezing pipes, that is going to be the first thing that we're going to direct them to do, right? Is shut off that water so that we can.
And that's if it's tenanted. If it's a vacant property, there's no telling how long that water leak is happening. So,
and that's something to consider. If you're vacant right now, right? You, depending on what you're going to be doing, if you need to reach out to us if it's vacant so that we can help get you a tenant in there and start getting some profitability. But if you're in a situation where that property is going to have to stay vacant for a little while, definitely winterize your property. It's a very big need.
I'm going to say, if it's vacant, you need to have the utilities on.
Absolutely.
Those days of turning your utilities off is just nonsense, because nowadays, if your utilities off for more than 30 days, they're going to make you pull a power inspection in most counties nowadays, and or a water inspection, and or a gas inspection. And those things just run up your holding costs.
Right.
Plus, you don't want to show a property that's vacant, it doesn't have the heat on. We run through our properties whenever we have these cold weather alerts, and we make sure that the thermostat is turned on 68 degrees. But if we have an extreme weather alert, we turn that heat up to about 72 degrees. And any exterior cabinets, we open those up so that we don't have to worry about frozen pipes. We drain the hose bibs if that's available. If not, we certainly make sure that we have those hose bib caps on them. But you do not, and we turn the water off to the main. But you always want to have water on your property too, because you always have those unexpected gifts that Santa leaves in the porcelain throne for
that's
you.
Right. Yes.
So you want to get that royal flush at the end of the season.
That's right.
So don't leave your utilities off. It is a costly loss to you. And man, and if you have to pull one of those electricity permits, electricity inspections from a licensed electrician, he's going to come out there and he's going to make sure that that everything is working. So I mean, I'm just telling you, it can be costly, and it can result in a lot of loss of time too. So if your tenants move out, you need to immediately roll your utilities on, and you need to make sure that you have the temp set at something reasonable. I always say that you should set your temperature at a minimum on heat 68 degrees, and in the summertime when it's really hot, you can do 80 degrees. And if it goes into the extreme heat, you can do 85, because generally if you're around temperatures around 80 or less, the humidity is not there. And that's the factor that gets you in the summertime is the humidity. And it sets up for that musky smell and mold issues. So please, my gift to you for Christmas and the holidays is to make sure you have your utilities.
Warm rental property.
A warm rental property.
I'm always amazed that investors invest in real estate to make money, right? They want to grow their investment, and they'll buy a $400,000 rental property in cash and then do something stupid like try to save money on the heat, and then they get frozen by, you know, like it's just amazing to me how sometimes investors will, you know, their own worst enemy by trying to cut costs and
Right.
things that can really cost them a lot of money.
My advice is to get your utilities on and price it right out of the gate, get it
Right.
rented as fast as possible. So,
Chip, you got any preventative winter maintenance for flippers to think about?
Well, similar to what you all were talking about, if you've got the property vacant, you haven't been able to sell it quite yet, make sure that you've got that heat on in the wintertime when the temperatures get down there. I didn't know what you were just talking about with the 30-day thing, so that's some good information for me to pass along to my borrowers too. If they're going to cut those utilities off, they need to make sure that they don't leave them off for more than 30 days. Thanks for that advice.
Yeah, utilities are an incredible bear for us to deal with,
Yes,
and it gets harder and harder to turn utilities on, and especially if you have a cold snap coming up over the weekend, it's near impossible to get utilities turned on before then because they're busy and the office staff doesn't work quite as fast like you need them to. They're on their own time.
You need to plan the utilities around your closings or your tenant move outs. You really do need to have them set up to go on the day the tenants moved out or the day you're closing on your property. Because if you let that stuff slide for 30 days, you will be paying even more. So
I would say the last winter prep tip that I could give is, hey, a lot of landlords get into buying rental property, buy and hold properties to have passive investments, right?
Mm-hmm.
These fears, these worries, these concerns. That's why PMI George is here to manage those types of situations, so that when a freeze warning is coming, you know that a team like ours is going to be prepared, going out, making sure that your asset's protected, and that your tenant's well aware on how to protect it if it's tenanted.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to close on this because utilities
yeah.
were a big issue.
It's still a big issue.
We took over a property that the owner had the property for like a month, and he still hasn't had his utilities on. And I go out there and I take a picture of what's supposed to be a water meter, and it's not there.
Yeah, the city
had pulled it because of the previous tenant not paying their water bills. So just make sure that you stay on top of that, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, when we go out to visit properties, if somebody's doing it for you, they should be taking pictures. We send you a report when we go out. We show you what we set the temperatures on. If there's any issues with the property, you'll actually have photos of what's going wrong, and to make those adjustments. So,
all right, our last segment. Christmas is on the way, and I know everybody's thinking about their wish list for their special someone and their kids and all of those things. What should be on every landlord or flipper's wish list for 2026? What would you say are some things that should be on that wish list moving forward?
I would say definitely that on my wish list is that the Fed does what it needs to do and drop some more points off that interest rate for us. I think that with that being said, like me and Chris and Matt have been saying all this call, we are in a buyer's market. Once that happens, the gates are wide open. But I would say that is definitely what we want to look for right now. I think, unfortunately, that's what a lot of us need to get back into the market, and that's what we want to see. But that's on the top of my wish list right now.
Yeah.
Well, on top of my wish list is I want a good tenant. I want one that's not on the naughty list. I want a tenant that will not save Santa that trip. You know, they often say, be naughty, save Santa the trip. I do not want a tenant like that. I want my tenants not to be on the naughty list. Yeah. And if they get on the naughty list, I want to watch them. That's what I want to do. I want to get them back on the nice list, the good list.
Yeah.
So managing those tenants, that's always a good tip for the year.
We don't mind reindeer footprints on our roofs.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. I don't want them to get that lump of coal. I want them to be on the good list. So
Chip, you got one?
Yeah. I was thinking you were talking about the days on market. I was hoping for a lower days on market for some of my borrowers, because in a lot of cases it's getting them in trouble. They weren't expecting to have to hold that property for 2 months. And, that's a lot of interest to have to pay when you weren't expecting it. So let's get those days on market back down.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I would say my wish list. We didn't talk about unlikely allies is good tenants. Tenant satisfaction, tenant retention is very important right now. So this might be a great time for landlords to think about little gifts or thank yous that they could do for tenants, whether it's a grocery gift card, maybe a little bit of credit on rent. Even if they're signing a renewal, throwing in a free carpet cleaning or something like that as an appreciation. But back to wish list, I think every investor should have on their wish list to buy a new property in 2026. I think this is a great time to buy. We can certainly get you a good deal on a property before Christmas. There's still time left. If you're looking for end of the year taxes and wanting to put some money into real estate, this is still a great time to invest. But in preparation for buying a property in 2026, talk to your lender now. Give Chip a call. Get qualified, because when deals pop up, they go fast. And that's really the best leverage you have as an investor, is being able to move quickly and having powder ready when the time comes. So definitely buy a property in 2026.
That's a good wish,
Without a doubt.
Hey, Matt, along the lines of what you were just talking about, I have a special going on right now. This is just me, not Longhorn, where if you get a loan with me between now and the end of the year, I'll give you a $100 gift card to Longhorn Steakhouse. Now, no relation between the two Longhorns other than the great name. But everybody would like to have a $100 gift card there, right? So come get a loan with me.
Absolutely.
Well, Chip, I'd also have to say it was not a good weekend for the Longhorns of Texas, was it?
Matthew McConaughey's crying right now, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Sorry, Matthew.
Georgia got the best of them.
That may have moved them out of the playoff scenario.
Yeah.
So, all right, Chip. Thanks. I want you to have a wonderful Thanksgiving, because this is going to be a wrap. We're going to do a December's meeting.
Absolutely, yeah. We're going to do a December meeting. So don't forget, this is a live and in-person meeting. Chip is at Hobnob Tavern every month, and we'll continue to bring you great speakers and education and networking events for investors to help buy and hold investors build long-term wealth. So any final comments before we sign off?
No, I just say can't wait to see you guys next month as well. And again, if you have any questions, your property's been sitting on the market for a while for rental needs, or hey, even for selling, you're considering put it on the rental market, don't hesitate to give me or Matt a call here at PMI Georgia, or visit our website to get a free rental analysis. We'd be happy to talk with you on how to maximize your portfolio and get you a good qualified tenant in your home.
That's right. All right. Thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you next time.
Thanks. See you next month.
Happy Cranberry, everybody.